YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more NFL draft content, and this is a little fun idea. I did this last year too. So basically what we did here, what if every NFL team had the first pick? Who would they take? So it's a fun little game. Maybe some of these teams trade up high enough to get one of these players. We're basically going to repeat some of these players. There's only a handful of players that could go one no matter the team. So we're going to take a look at them here one by one. We'll go in pick order. And obviously, there's a couple teams that don't have a first-round pick there, but we throw them in there, of course. Right before we get into it, check out our Twitter and Instagram. Lots of free agency content coverage on our Twitter. We're going to make a video once, there's a bunch of signings, bunch of deals done. We'll get onto the videos, but don't want to keep making a video every time there's a deal done. So Twitter, we're constantly talking about recent moves, my thoughts on them, predicting some moves. So it's a good follow there if you check out our Twitter. There's also a fan-voted mock draft going on. You vote on our Twitter for each pick. There's going to be a video once it's all done, so go ahead and check all that out. But let's go to the Cardinals. I'm expecting the Cardinals to take Kyler Murray. They do have the first pick. I think they will take Kyler Murray. Maybe it's a whole bunch of BS, but I'm kind of buying into it. So that's what I'm going with here. If they had the first pick, who would they take? They have the first pick, and I think they're taking Kyler Murray. So it's the least interesting team because they actually have the first pick. If the Niners had the first pick, I think they would take Nick Bosa, and I think that's what they're going to end up with at pick 2. I think that's their guy. That's their type of pass rusher, their type of defensive end. So I think it's very realistic they get him at 2, and I think that would be their pick at 1 because, of course, they have their quarterback set if he stays healthy. They could like Quinnen Williams and Josh Allen too. I just think Nick Bosa is more their type of guy. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the same player because that's how it would be if a lot of these teams had the first pick. Pick number 3, the Jets, I have them with Quinnen Williams, and I think that's who they end up with. I think it's very realistic at pick 3. And if they had the first pick, I think they would consider it there. They're looking at, pass rushers to their outside linebacker spot in free agency. Maybe they don't land those guys. Maybe they want to go Josh Allen when they pick 3. But if they had the first pick, it could be Quinnen Williams. It could be Nick Bosa, could be Josh Allen. I went with Quinnen Williams. I think that's their type of guy. I think he play D-end. He can even move inside the nose for them if they wanted him to. So I think they would like him even if they picked 1. The Raiders, I have with Nick Bosa. Now, some people may say, where's Kyler Murray? They like Kyler Murray. That's just rumors at this point. I think Derek Carr is their guy. I really do, but they could there's rumors they like Drew Lock too. So maybe if they had the first pick, they would take their shot on one of these quarterbacks. But they already spent big money on, Antonio Brown and they got Trent Brown. They still have more money to spend. Will they be able to get the pass rusher that's a for sure top-notch guy? That's a big question. But I think Nick Bosa would be their number 1 player on their board. I think that's who they would take first overall. Next up's the Bucs. The Bucs was a hard one. I went with Quinnen Williams. It was a tough one because they could go. They're supposed to switch to a 3-4, so they could go Josh Allen at the outside linebacker spot. They could convert Nick Bosa. They can go Kyler Murray. I can see Kyler Murray being a guy that the Buccaneers like in their future quarterback. Maybe Winston they don't believe will work out long term. But I think Quinnen Williams would be their guy. The only one that is for sure, part of the future for that D-line is Vita Vea, who would play nose. Quinnen Williams can play end for them. I think they would like him a lot, but the Buccaneers, there's a few teams that were really hard to decide on this, and the Buccaneers were one of them. But I went with Quinnen Williams. 6, who has pick 6 is the Giants. What if they had pick 1? I went with Nick Bosa. This is tough because it could still be the quarterback we expect him to take, which is Dwayne Haskins at 6. But if they had the first pick, Gettleman's not a guy that's going to go reach for, a big need. That's my opinion, really. I don't think he's that guy. They could use someone opposite of Lorenzo Carter. Nick Bosa is traditionally more of a 4-3 and the Giants run a 3-4. But I think that's a team that would convert him. I think they would like Bosa, and I think he's, I think it'd be a good opposite of Lorenzo Carter. I think it's just a guy they would like. I think he's number 1 on their board. So I don't think they would reach for a quarterback. But let's say they did have the first overall pick. Maybe it's a trade back, gather more picks, still take Dwayne Haskins or the quarterback of your choosing. Trade back a little bit. So really, if they had the first pick, I think they would do that. But I think if they had to pick, I think they would take the best guy on their board, and that would be Nick Bosa. The Jags, I went with Nick Bosa as well. You could argue quarterback here, but I think they're pretty clear-cut. They want Nick Foles. Nick Foles is their guy. They want to contend right now. You're not going to contend right now with the rookie quarterback. And yeah, they have pretty good D ends, but Calais Campbell, he's still playing at a high level, but he's getting up there in age, and you want to make sure you have the guy of the future. That would be Nick Bosa. Quinnen Williams would be an option as well. The Lions went with Nick Bosa, too. I thought this one was pretty clear. I think they would like Bosa there, play him at DN from day one in Patricia's defense. The Bills, again, Nick Bosa. I think that would be their guy. They play a 4-3. He would fit on that defense in that defensive end spot. They're kind of looking in free agency for a guy like Trey Flowers. If they had the first pick, would they be looking for that guy? Would they still get Trey Flowers? And then if they did, would they get Quinnen Williams, a guy like that? Very possible. But I think Nick Bosa would be number one on their board. That's who they would take. The Broncos is a tough one because they could go quarterback. And people are going to say, what about Kyler Murray? I like Kyler Murray, but I don't know if Kyler Murray's a John Elway quarterback. I don't think they would take him first overall. I think they would take Quinnen Williams. They're pretty much set at their edge rusher outside linebacker spot. I think they would take Quinnen Williams for that Vic Fangio defense. But another team that would probably trade back a little bit, either take a quarterback or go Devin White. But if they had the first pick, this is what I'm picking. The Bengals, another tough one. They could go with quarterback. They could go Kyler Murray. I really thought about that. They could go Quinnen Williams too, but it was really between Kyler Murray and Nick Bosa. But I know for a fact they would like Nick Bosa. They'd be high on him. He would be number one on their board, and they wouldn't be out. If you have the first pick and you don't trade it, you don't trade back, you take the guy that's first on your board. And their defense was a problem last year, so they need to make it better here if they had the first pick. So I think they would go with Nick Bosa. Packers, same thing. They run a 3-4, so this one was a little tougher, but I think they would like Bosa enough where they can convert him. They could use Josh Allen. Quinnen Williams could be a thought, but I really think Bosa is their type of guy. I think they would have really no problem converting him or no problem wanting to convert him. It's not that much of a difference, but some teams would kind of be more comfortable taking a true 3-4 guy, but I think the Packers would like Bosa. And the Dolphins, same thing. We're seeing a lot of Bosas here. They run a 4-3. They need a defensive end. They also need a defensive tackle. So Bosa or Quinnen Williams is who I considered here. I think they would go with Nick Bosa. The Falcons are with Quinnen Williams. They could also go Bosa, but they do like Beasley and Takk McKinley. They've been looking for that D tackle next to Grady Jarrett. And here's a guy that can play. He has experience playing nose. He has experience playing D tackle and D end. But he wouldn't be D end in the Falcons defense. So I think he would be great next to Grady Jarrett. I think that's who they would take. The Redskins, a little wild card here. I'm with Drew Lock. Another team that would probably trade back a little bit and take him. But to me, Drew Lock is a Jay Gruden guy. I don't think they're going to like Kyler Murray. I just don't see him as, one of their guys. They pick 15 right now. If they pick one, I think they would trade back a little bit and take Drew Lock. But if they had to pick one, I think they would take Lock. I think that's their type of guy. They need a quarterback for the future pretty desperately. So just a feeling I have, if they had pick one, I think they would go Lock. They would consider Bosa. They would consider Josh Allen as well. But that's just my feeling. I think they would like. I think they do like Lock. They may trade up in the draft. Possibly they did just trade for Keenum. So we'll see. Very interesting team here with the Redskins. Panthers went with Nick Bosa. There's rumors they would switch to a 3-4. I'm still not really sure what they're going to do exactly. But I think they would like Bosa. I think if they had the first pick, I think they would actually keep it because of that. And they know what they're getting in Bosa. He'd definitely be their best D lineman / pass rusher. So I think they would go him. I think they would stick to a 4-3. The Browns would go Bosa as well. They would put him opposite of Myles Garrett. I know they just got Vernon, but it doesn't really change much there. I think they would go Bosa. They would consider Quinnen Williams for sure, but they would go Bosa. The Vikings are a tough one because I really think they would consider Quinnen Williams as a D tackle next to Linval Joseph, but Bosa actually have comparisons on as Everson Griffin, which is kind of funny here. So I think they would like him. Everson Griffin, they were talking about restructuring his deal, possibly trading him. Don't know how much truth there is to that, but their future pass rush would be Bosa and Daniel Hunter. I really would think they would do that, but they would definitely like Quinnen Williams as well. Titans, I think, would take Bosa. They do run a 3-4, so maybe a guy like Josh Allen could fit a little better. Quinnen Williams would definitely be high on their board, but Bosa, to me, is a Vrabel type of guy. I think they would take him. They would convert him. He'd be good opposite of Harold Landry, too, so that would make a lot of sense. Steelers would go Nick Bosa. They like TJ Watt. They were able to work with him at the outside linebacker position. Bud Dupree's a free agent the next year. So I think they would like Bosa, convert him, and have really no problem doing it. Seahawks, another Nick Bosa, opposite of Frank Clark, and there's even some Frank Clark trade rumors. Most likely they'll hang on to him, but even with him, they could use another defensive end opposite of him, and that would make them a very scary defense there. 22, the Ravens would go. The Ravens like their Bama guys, and I think they would go Quinnen Williams. Nick Bosa doesn't really fit their defense. Josh Allen would be considered if they lose Zadarius Smith, definitely, but they have good depth at the pass rush position. I think they would go with Quinnen Williams, another one of those Bama guys for him. The Texans, finally Josh Allen here off the board. I think I don't know if the Texans would really want to convert Bosa. I think they would want a guy that can fit, opposite of Jadeveon Clowney. If they have him long term, I think they would like Josh Allen a lot. I think they do like Josh Allen a lot, but they're picking too far to get him. Let's see. One of these teams is bound to trade way up to get a guy if somebody falls. But I think they would like Josh Allen. They definitely would consider Bosa and Quinnen Williams here as well. But Josh Allen makes a lot of sense in the Texans defense, in my opinion. The Cowboys, Nick Bosa. This is a tough one too because they could use Nick Bosa or Quinnen Williams. I think they would go Bosa, even though they have Taco Charlton. They're kind of high on him. They still hope he figures it out, but I still think they would go Bosa. Pass rush is key. They would go him opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. They still need to extend DeMarcus Lawrence too. So all that, I think they would choose Bosa, but definitely consider Quinnen Williams. The Eagles, this is pretty much a no-brainer here to me. I think they would go Bosa. They got Barnett and Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham getting up there in age. Barnett had the injury last year. Bosa would be number one on their board. They wouldn't be able to pass up on him. The Colts, same situation. Maybe would consider Quinnen Williams, but I think they would go Bosa. He would start day one at defensive end. The Bears, tough one. Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams would start at DN for them instead of Bullard day one. But Josh Allen, it's weird because he's getting some comparisons to Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd, who they both have. It's kind of both of them combined. He has more athleticism of Leonard Floyd. He can drop into coverage like Leonard Floyd, but he's more of a pass rusher. Not as good as Khalil Mack, obviously, but similar to him. So I think that would be so appealing to them. And, I think he's better than Leonard Floyd right away, even though they're pretty high on him, and he is pretty good if healthy. But they really had, a problem for the Bears, but they had a lack of a good rotation there. So I think, and they stopped the run at, the best level in football. So I think more sacks equals more wins. They had the turnovers, and they had the run-stopping ability, and they had pressure, but they could use more of it. You can't be afraid to get more of that. So I think they would take Josh Allen. I think he fits their defense perfectly. Definitely what they're looking for. Chargers would go Nick Bosa. A tough one because right away I'm putting in Quinnen Williams. They need a D lineman, but I'm thinking Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, not because they're brothers, but because they were super high on Joey Bosa. And that's another comparison there. Obviously, the brothers have a very similar play style. So if they like Joey Bosa, they're going to like Nick Bosa. They have to stay true to their board. Number one player would be that. I know they have Melvin Ingram too, but Melvin Ingram plays off the ball where Joey Bosa plays on the ball. They can use Nick Bosa in some different ways in front of Melvin Ingram. That would be something to see, but they would strongly consider Quinnen Williams because it's more of a need, but you can't pass on your best available. I think he would be their best player on their big board. Chiefs, Nick Bosa. They're switching to a 4-3. That's why they cut Justin Houston. That's why D Ford's on the trade market. They need a 4-3 end desperately. That's what they would take. No brainer there. Saints, I went with Kyler Murray. I think the Saints would do it. They would look at Drew Lock and Dwayne Haskins as well. But I think they would take Kyler Murray, moving on from Drew Brees in the very near future, or he's going to retire in the very near future. So I think they would want to get creative with this. I think it would make a lot of sense here. That's what they would do. I mean, maybe the Saints trade up, and it's going to be hard to do without a first rounder, but maybe they trade up for a guy like Murray, Haskins, or Locke. It'd be very interesting. 31, the Rams. I went Quinnen Williams. You could say they need pass rush from the outside linebacker spot opposite Dante Fowler right now. But to me, they don't really value any of the linebacker spots as much as they do D-line. And, they may lose Sue in free agency, Brockers. You could get better. Quinnen Williams, a guy that can play nose and end. He can move around. They value a guy like this tremendously. So it was tough to decide at first, but after really thinking about it, I think this is pretty clear. I think they would value him very, very high. Him with Aaron Donald would be nuts. And with the team that's picking last in the first round, if they had the first overall pick, the Patriots, a tough one because they could consider quarterback for the future and they would have their choice, but they're not a team that's going to reach for a guy that isn't 100% of a fit, and that's how I see that. I see maybe Drew Lock is the best fit, but I don't know if they would they would pull the trigger. I think they would just go with Nick Bosa, who's the best player on most people's boards, and they're going to lose Trey Flowers, so I think that would make a lot of sense for their future pass rush. But would consider the quarterbacks, would consider Quinn Williams as well. So, yeah, this was just a fun little idea. I did this last year. Some people liked it, so I thought I'd do it again. Just what if these teams, and everyone has their different opinions, of course. So, let me know what you guys thought. If your favorite team, if you disagree with me, let me know who you think they would take and why. It's very interesting to see. We have plenty of mock drafts always coming out, updated ones maybe coming soon, and free agency coverage here. We have plenty of free agency prediction videos on the channel. Now free agency is starting to kick off. We're constantly talking on our Twitter about free agency. I'm constantly giving my thoughts on where guys could go and my thoughts on, the signings that just happened. Were they good, bad? And we'll make a video on, latest news and my thoughts on that, so you guys can kind of hear me talk about it, but kind of want to let it build up a little bit. So we got plenty to do here. Plenty to do. We got 7-round mock drafts coming out per each team. Going to start getting going on that pretty soon. So a lot going on here at the Goat House. If you don't subscribe to the channel, please do that, because we got to go at 20K, and we got plenty of NFL content here and more to come. Clicking the like button, notification button, both of those much appreciated. We went live the other day about free agency. We're going to do it again very soon, and we're going to be live during the draft. So we went live the other day, and it was kind of a last-second thing, like an hour before we decided let's go live. So you're going to want to turn those notifications on so you don't miss that. But that's going to do it. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Plenty more to come. Goodbye.